Welcome back to UNrattled, a podcast for parents. If you've ever laid awake replaying the day, second guessing a decision, or imagining every possible what if when it comes to your child, you're not alone. Worry is a normal part of parenting, but for many of us, anxiety doesn't clock out. It lingers, it loops, and it can quietly shape how we show up for ourselves and our kids. In today's episode, we're talking honestly about what it's like to parent while constantly carrying worry. We'll explore how anxiety shows up in everyday moments, how it can influence our reactions and routines, and most importantly, how we can care for our own mental health without passing that stress on to our children. Whether your anxiety feels occasional or overwhelming, like mine, our hope is that you'll walk away feeling seen, supported, and a little less alone. So let's get into it. We're here today with Lauren Peru Harvey. I'm glad that I remembered that last name.
That's amazing. Do amazing every time.
Lauren is a regular here on UNrattled now. I feel like we can say that.
Yes, and I love it.
You have officially crossed the regular threshold. You're a licensed professional counselor here in Mobile, Alabama, and you're also bouncing back and forth between Baldwin County.
Yep, I have an office over in Foley as well. Yes, so it's super fun.
Yes, Lauren is our favorite trauma processing, professional expert here. So, and I'm also here with my co-host, Vinay.
Hi.
This is our first full episode on YouTube, so hi.
Yeah, we're referencing the cameras now.
Yes.
They used to not exist.
Is that breaking the third wall? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling like an office moment, like a very Jim Halpert, like.
Yeah.
I didn't decide like, podcasting would be a good idea because this is not like a face for I was not planning on that visual, a YouTube thing.
That's okay.
Oh.
It's going to have to be. It is what it is.
It needs all of our faces.
I'm not going for the GLP-1s. I cannot do I'm going to get a haircut for you guys. That's about it.
Well, that you're showing up exactly the way that you need to show up, yourself and authentically.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I was concerned about what I was going to wear this morning and what I was going to look like. And then I was like, well, Vinay is very trendy and stylish. And Lauren's got great hair, and I don't know what color it's going to be. And so people are not going to be looking at me. They're going to be looking at all of that. So
this is as good as it's going to get.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the ladybugs. Hello.
Thank you.
So cute.
Thank you.
So cute.
Okay, so to start us off, we're going to do rapid fire this or that. Vinay, you want to go first?
Yes.
All right. Everyday parent brain. Google it immediately or try to ignore it and see what happens.
Probably Google it immediately. Yeah. I feel like that's what I've always done. Parent brain,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Google it immediately. Solves my problem immediately.
Triple check
usually.
the bag or trust that you packed everything.
Trust that I packed everything. What am I, a type B parent? I want to be type A. However,
Oh gosh. Okay, Lauren, plan for every possible outcome or wing it and hope for the best.
I would love to say that I plan for every possible outcome. Maybe on days where I'm a little bit more anxiety ridden, that might be true. But no, I'm more of a wing it kind of gal.
Okay, laid out outfits the night before or chaotic morning schedule?
Chaotic morning schedule. This morning, I was running around with a towel on my head like, what am I going to wear?
morning.
Okay, Vinay, what about you? Do you lay out the tie? Sarah's she's in magnet school.
Mm-hmm.
And they do uniforms, even though she's 4 or 5.
4.
4. They've got the little.
I have a
cross
special
tie.
place for it, but I don't lay out her clothes. They're folded. They're just not out.
Got it.
But I know where they are.
You're so good for the folding.
Early arrival or just on time?
Just on time.
Yeah, just barely.
If not a little late. I hate
Final one. Coffee first, then people, or people first and coffee later?
Coffee. Coffee first.
I knew
then
that about
people. Mm-hmm.
Ideally coffee first, but most of the time because of my job, it will be simultaneous. I will be walking in like 5 minutes before I need to see my first person, go quickly make a cup of coffee, and we are enjoying it together first thing in the morning.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today we're talking about parenting with anxiety, and we've talked about this during our last few episodes. We've all, no matter who the guest is, and Jay, who's our recurring guest host, also, especially during the holidays, things feel heavy.
Yeah.
And it's been a sentiment that we have all agreed on. It's early in 2026. This was not the 2026 that I was planning for.
No.
She needs to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know each other like that. She is coming in
We were still
hot and heavy.
We were still formulating the bingo card, and I mean, we're already checking stuff off.
Yes. So it does give me some sense of, like, ooh, it's not just me when it comes to parenting with anxiety. So talk to me about, like, what does that actually mean? How can it show up in parents?
Great question. So, being a parent is an exciting role in somebody's life. But that doesn't mean all of a sudden they are a parent and all the things that maybe all the rocks they've had in their backpack goes away. So a lot of times, we're already, having some anxiety about different things. And then when we become parents, it's okay, that doesn't go away. But now, we are bringing another little person into the world, and they are my responsibility to raise them to be, a good person, and that they're happy, healthy, and well cared for. And so, some people, it's with anxiety, it can be, I have this fear of something bad happening, like this impending sense of doom. It can be, a lot of parents also will be worried about, I think especially like today, thinking about the consequences of my actions and how that's going to show up and affect my child. It can be, money is a really big one across the board.
A biggie.
Oh yeah. So it can be anything and everything, but also it can be things like I'm afraid to cross a divided highway because I'm scared that I'm going to get into a wreck and my kid's going to get hurt. It's anything and everything. It looks different for each person, but the way it can show up.
I know, our regular listeners know my daughter is 17, and so she's going out with friends and doing the things, and on the weekends, I don't sleep much. I'm stalking that location. If it's an unfamiliar one, I'm like, who's there? Whose house is this? And I just, it just feels so, and not that I can control everything. I know that, rationally, I know that, but I sleep a lot better when she's under the same roof.
Oh yeah.
Do I have some sort of is that unrealistic? Am I the only person?
Absolutely not.
I was like, what was the term that was so prevalent for a long time? Like
a helicopter parent?
No. When you have an unhealthy attachment to somebody.
Oh,
yes,
codependency.
Yes.
Yeah.
that was a hot topic for a long time back when. So I feel like, oh God, am I codependent?
No, it's scary. Then that's the thing, is that some of these anxieties, they come from a rational place. Like, we see things, we're inundated with it, on the internet, on the news, that all these bad things are happening. And so, it's natural that we're concerned, because this is somebody that we love, and they're figuring out how to be a human person. And a teenager, we know, also sometimes has lower inhibitions. They have, a little bit more, just because of natural brain development, impulsivity, things like that. And it's scary. And also, people have so much more access to them.
I was just going to say, I don't know that the access is a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whose house is she at? Where is the, and it's like 12 at night. And she's not staying at home. So I know I think I know who she's with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that too is I know the things I did. Now, we didn't have social media back then.
Right.
But, you tell your parents you're staying at Susie's house and then you go over here. And, I don't think that makes them bad kids. I don't think it made me a bad kid. But it's just like, be realistic. I'm no fool.
It's like I would much rather you come to me and say these things than something bad happening and it's a surprise and like I have to scramble
Right.
to figure out.
Yeah, but I don't know that the access for me is healthy.
And I think a lot of that is the case for a lot of people because you do want to habitually check and it's sometimes it helps us bend boundaries maybe that normally we would have had that they're now not afforded. And even in like college and things like that, like I think parents are having a harder time kind of separating somewhat.
I can see that.
From that because they have access to location, or they can look, they have all these parental control access. Like, let me see what everything that they're, doing on the internet or texting. And so sometimes where that can be harder for, a young adult to kind of become more independent and things. And it's not coming from a malicious place. It's not coming from a controlling place.
Mm-mm.
It's concern and it's valid, but.
And for me, as a parent of a teenager, I don't want to be stupid. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to not know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not necessarily going to call you out that you're not where you said you were going to be in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be aware enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a colleague about that today. Socials, the socials.
Mm-hmm.
I look.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look. I don't always want to see, and it's very uncomfortable, but I think you have to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know what you're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of times I wish I didn't know, but I don't know is it better to stick your head in the sand and like not?
I wish there was an easy answer to that. I mean, obviously balance probably.
I was just about to say there's probably a balance.
You're young
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
We did have social media when I was a teenager.
Exactly.
So.
and I started like in later high school, like senior year was when like Facebook came around. I mean, I had MySpace before.
And the kids are not doing Facebook.
No.
So if you're looking for your kid on Facebook,
Not there.
that ain't,
Mm-mm.
They're not there.
You need
that's
to
not
look
the
for-
real one.
No, you need to look for the mini Instagram pages and the Finstas and all of those things.
All the things.
But I think, I really do think that there's that maintaining healthy boundaries, but then also, no, I'm not ignorant of the things that go on with my child because unfortunately situations do happen and bad
Mhm.
things do happen. I think probably if I had to really sit and think about it, the healthiest thing is talking with your child about it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not coming from this from a place of control or because I want to ruin your life, but it's like, I also do want to know what if something bad happens and I have no clue, let's have that open dialogue. Like, are you frustrated with this? Tell me why. I want to hear why. And then, let's talk about that and, finding out what feels comfortable for you to know, but then what's the line where it is kind of, okay, now we're almost feeding into this, like unhealthy need to know everything, anything,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about parenting with anxiety, I think we can talk about two different things. The parenting anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and just being a parent and having anxiety.
Exactly.
Just for some context, I over the weekend was because of some of the state of the world things that happened last week. I I mean, I just was so upset about this woman that was murdered in her car. And it caused, like, I know that sounds irrational because, it's all the way across the country or whatever, but it upset me so bad.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't an anxiety that was caused by parenting or with my child or anything like that, but generally walking around in the world with the state of the world can be anxiety inducing.
Oh,
can be
absolutely.
worrisome.
Oh, yeah. And that, and that's when, going back when we were opening this up, is that, as individuals, we already have, carrying most of us, the majority of us are carrying anxieties that are separate from parent anxieties. But then, and reacting, because we're not separate from the reality around us, and we are inundated with it. And compassion fatigue is real, and it makes you feel worried and scared about the state of things. I mean, and so and our nervous system is firing, all the time, feeling like we're unsafe, or we can't tell the difference between, a lot of times, our nervous system, it's primed and ready. We're looking for danger, for something bad to happen to some extent, so that we can preemptively protect ourselves, our loved ones. But we're now because of that access, it's like nonstop all of the time. The mental load that we all carry, just reacting to our daily lives, to our daily reality, on top of then parenting. I mean, it's a lot.
I know that was one of the things, is like, how common is anxiety among parents? And we looked at a couple of statistics from, I want to say it's the National Library, which is from the U.S. Surgeon General's whole thing.
Back when when the Surgeon General identified parental stress as an epidemic.
Yes, thank you. I don't think enough people have read that, by the way. Just if you haven't, please read it, look at it. But I'm going to share some of the statistics that we found. There's 20% of parents who have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And then this was another one, 13.5% of mothers ages 19 to 64 have a form of anxiety disorder. And then 18.2% of U.S. parents with children under 18 have anxiety. I have one on here that's like 33.4% of, is it adults in America?
Probably.
With anxiety? Or was that 48%?
I can look that up for
Double
you.
check for you. But I mean, these statistics, I was like, good.
33% of parents report high levels of stress in the last month.
Yes.
Compared with 20% of non-parents. And this is what I found over like crazy. 48% say they feel completely overwhelmed on most days. 48% of parents.
Can you imagine every single day feeling that level of overwhelm?
Yeah, I can.
So true. But I mean, it's like the mental tax that has on people. And we wonder why we all feel exhausted.
Yeah.
And I think parents most acutely, because they're not just anxious for themselves, they're anxious for another
their children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their entire family unit. So I wanted to ask you, Lauren, what are some subtle signs parents might not recognize as anxiety? Things like overthinking, constant what ifs, or avoiding certain.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think some of the big ones is like the hallmark of just anxiety disorders in general is sort of that nonstop worrying thoughts. And so it's like this constant, some people experience them rapidly. Like it's just like the little Energizer bunny, like, oh my gosh, something like
spiraling almost.
Yes. Some people, it can be with, like things like avoidance, stuff like that. It can be like, I am not going to let my child get hurt at all. Like we're not going to do things like, we're not going to do gymnastics because they may, break a leg. And so it's like, it could be things with like, oh, something's wrong with my child. Like they're sick, there's something wrong. Like I need to, figure this out. It's just worry. Sometimes it can be that exhaustion, that kind of shutdown, which can feel and present sometimes, and oftentimes, more oftentimes than not, there's a little bit of comorbidity with some depression. But if you think about it, all of your mental energy is going into, I got to make sure to take care of all these people that are dependent upon me. And so sometimes it's exhaustion, and it's just like, it's hard for me to just enjoy even like doing things with my child, or
enjoy being present.
Yeah. Or enjoy being a parent.
I experience that when I slow down, when my brain slows down enough to not, I have the rapid, especially like driving to work. I think about, oh, did this bill get paid? What are we going to have for dinner tonight? I wonder if he packed his thing that he'll need for choir. Oh, and are we going to take this car, that car? I need a new headlight. Am I going to get pulled over? Because, it is constant. And so when I slow down long enough, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, it is a high mental load. We talk about, like, a lot of times, like, it's like that. I say mental load, but it is taking energy. It is taking your brain power, worrying. And some of the things are not that they're not valid, but this is not something we have to actively worry about. This is like a daily reality, and it's not actually, we're not in danger, but we're still going to worry about it. Our brain can't let it go.
Yeah.
And this isn't even touching on mom guilt.
Yeah.
And, worrying about, am I being a good parent? Am I making the right decisions for my child? Like, am I inadvertently, bringing harm on them? What am I, what am I going to, what is my child going to inherit? Generational, inheritance of some of these things. But I think moms, like, especially, kind of, because there is a lot of pressure of being this perfect parent. And we see on social media, on TikTok, like these, like, oh, this is how I do parenting. This is our life. And everything looks great and super peaceful. And like, oh, everybody's doing exactly what they need to do. This is great. And that's just not real. Like, that's not real.
Sometimes I have to allow myself to disassociate because, let's be honest, sometimes like the worrisomeness, I kind of view that as like a natural order of things for myself, because I deal with anxiety on a different level than some others. So usually when it gets real heavy, I'm like checking out, healthy amount of time, Sometimes though, like, I have to reel myself back in from like the avoidance, the not talking to people, however, most of the time that's unusual for me to not talk to people. But again, it's a balance of like, I need to disassociate so I can tell my nervous system that we're not being chased by a tiger, However, but
I have known people, and I guess I've not been this way just because I didn't have the luxury of it. But I've known people whose anxiety the overwhelm just causes them to freeze. They shut down instead of making one of 5 choices and playing out every scenario, which is what I do. They just don't do anything. They literally just freeze.
Yep. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Those are some of the common things that we're doing to try to protect ourselves. And some people, it's freeze. The overwhelm causes system overload, and we crash. And, if you think about it, your computer, like, there are too many tabs open, and instead of, maybe closing a few, we just
shut down. I can see that. Why is this such an important conversation? Why do parents' anxiety matter beyond just their own internal experience?
Well, a lot of it is we want to teach our kids to be the healthy, confident, obviously not anxious if possible, individual. But that's not necessarily always realistic, because our kids are individual. They're existing in the same society and as we are. But when we're not also taking ownership of our anxiety and the way that we manage it, we're not modeling for kids on how to manage anxiety and stress in a way where we're not, impaired in our daily functioning. And so, it is really important for us to have these conversations about why parental mental health matters, because you are your children's first teacher. And for all things, they are looking to their parents to know what it is to be a human existing in the world and how to do that as well as possible. And so if we're avoiding taking accountability and taking ownership of our own, worries, anxieties, how foundationally are they going to learn some of those things when they're looking to us?
So you said like we are our child's first teacher. So if we're kind of aware that we already have anxiety and we want to talk about managing that anxiety or stress, what do you think are some ways that we can ignore real time? Like what would you suggest? Like how to interrupt it on that? Well, you know what I mean.
Now, is this for you, like you as an individual, or like when in like a parenting moment, like you and your child, like both?
Yes, because there's, anxiety is such a faceted,
It is.
thing. So I guess whatever you recommend, how can you interrupt / acknowledge it in real time to where you can turn it into much less of a feeling and more so of an action? It's like, what can I do next?
Yeah. Well, so part of it, and this is why, everybody says like, oh, like, or why mental health advocates were like, yes, go to therapy, go to counseling. One of the things is when we become more aware of our emotional states, that's great. But when we also become more aware of our internal states and the way they're connected to our emotional states, we call that like interoception. When I notice that I'm starting to feel a little tense, or I'm getting like a little hot or flushed or shaky, and it's like, oh, okay, let me take a step back. What's going on? Oh, I'm feeling really anxious about this parent teacher conference. Like that's, now that I think about it, I'm worried about that. And so hold on, let me like take a second. Let me do some grounding, or let me take a couple breaths, or let me go take a walk, or just do some internal dialogue. Like
Pause.
Yeah. Take a second and acknowledge it, like feel it, but, open that space to come back down, tell our nervous system, we aren't being chased by a tiger. It's going to be okay. What's the big bad thing that I'm afraid of? And come back down. And, because it can be harder to try to notice the cognitive signs of anxiety. But when we're able to start paying attention to our bodies and the way that it's manifesting things like anxiety, and that's something that, you can work on obviously as an individual, but it's really helpful, in a therapeutic setting, to look at that brain body connection. Cause that can be one of the ways that, I can feel my stomach. I can feel nauseous. Like I'm going to notice that a lot more maybe than the racing thoughts when I have the racing thoughts constantly,
Right. And I don't have them constantly. So it's easy for me to, when I jump around a lot, I'm like, okay, stop, and it's hard to explain. I told my same colleague that I was talking to earlier this morning, it's like, have you ever seen Inside Out 2, where anxiety is a character? That is the most real thing, when she's in the room and she's like, okay, Sally's going to talk to Susie to find every scenario that could happen. And she's got all of them working on. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
It is such a real depiction. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes. Those movies.
Somebody just put that out there like that. That is exactly what it feels like.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like you too. My stomach will tighten a lot. But I will say it is easier on this side of parenting, being, being married, having a supportive partner, having all of the things that I didn't have for years. And I was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So if we had had this conversation when I was a single parent, I couldn't have, I don't think I would have come out of survival mode long enough to recognize any of those things.
Mm-hmm. I think I can't remember which episode it was, but we talked about. I think I brought even maybe Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
You know, and it is hard to be able to work on those things, move up that pyramid when those base needs aren't being met.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, when you are in survival, like we are living paycheck to paycheck. How am I going to make sure we keep the lights on, the kids fed, we have enough diapers, those things? When you're not there and secure in that, you don't have the brain power. You really don't have the privilege to be able to work, on that. I'm just trying to.
And
make
I
sure
wish I wish I had known, like you said, just to slow down, to just pause. It would have. I think it would have made a huge difference.
And it's so hard to do that, though.
Yeah.
And it's a real practice. And like I tell all of my clients, like I'm a firm believer in practicing what I preach, and sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. But one of the things that I have had to learn as somebody who has like high levels of anxiety and stress, and it feels like everything like has to happen right now. Everything is like it's just going, blowing up. I have to ask myself, is this an emergency? Yes or no? Well, nope. Is it an actual factual emergency? Well, no. Okay, then I need to set that down because that isn't an emergency. And I love that I'm able to do that, and that helps me. But I also am really privileged in that I have a supportive partner. I also have, ton of education on this and a lot of years of therapy. Yeah. But getting into that practice, because that's really what it is, of slowing down and of, is this actually an emergency, is a big thing.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me, and it's almost like setting boundaries with yourself too, not to kind of keep spiraling or whatnot. So how can setting boundaries make you more present and responsive being a parent?
Well, you are not giving all of your mental energy, your emotional energy to the anxieties that may or may not be actually present. And so you're leaving more emotional energy, more space to be able to be present. And so telling yourself, like there's actually like a technique in like CBT and things like that. Like
Do tell.
Yeah, well it's called worry time. And so it is, you set aside some time, like, okay, 9 p.m. after the kids have gone to bed, that is worry time. At that point, I can worry and let every single worry loose. And I have an hour to do that. I'm going to think of every scenario. I'm going to be like that Charlie Day meme where there's all the,
right.
That's my hour. But when that hour is up, I have to put those away. And so what that does is it reassures your brain, like, okay, the worries aren't going away. I'm not ignoring what feels pressing, but I'm going to leave them to a designated time so that I can show up in the other, be present in the other parts of my life where I need to be present. Because it's not saying, we're telling our brain, we're reassuring, we're not forgetting what we're worrying about. We'll still worry about it, but we're going to worry about it at another time. And that's okay. And so, then I can be with my kid, and instead of sitting there like, while they're talking to me, like thinking about, oh my gosh, we have to do this, 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 and this, and I've got to pay this bill, and oh my gosh, I think we're late on something, like blah, 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 and you're not really communicating.
Engaged. Yeah.
It's okay. I've reassured my brain. All right, I'm going to worry about that. And, after they go to bed at 9 p.m. every day, and that's still going to be there. And so then I can be more present and more, engaged in that moment.
One of the things that I sort of struggled with, and then learning the distinction between when my kids were young is talking to them and being honest without overburdening
Mm-hmm.
them. And so how do you model like healthy coping and not hiding it? Like when I was, um, you know, scared about something or, for example, during COVID, I was scared
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, we were going to get sick and all the things.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you talk to your kids about that without, I want to be honest
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to know that like what you're seeing in me is like, I'm just scared. I'm not upset with you. I'm not, this is why, you know, about my feelings, because I want them to know that being scared is a normal
Mm-hmm.
thing and I want to cope with it in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find that balance between being honest with your kids and not hiding your emotions and not overburdening them?
Another great question. But
I struggled with it.
yeah,
Honestly.
it is hard because you don't want kids to feel like they have to take on being our emotional,
Right.
regulators.
Right.
And I think that it's I don't want to say it's more simple than we think, but it's completing the conversation. So what I mean is, yeah, like acknowledging like, I'm scared about this, but this is what I'm doing. So I'm going to go and write down what I'm worrying about. And I'm going to go, think about it, or I'm going to go pray about it, or I'm going to do some, like, I'm going to breathe right now. That's how I deal with when I'm feeling scared or overwhelmed. And so it's completing that conversation so that it's not putting the burden on them. Instead, you found this is how I deal with this. It's okay. And this is how I address it, make myself feel better. Because you're not putting the responsibility on them.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so it's I think there is there is sharing, and we feel like we're oversharing. And part of it is because we don't complete that conversation.
Right.
And so then that's where kids can be like, oh, I've got to make mommy feel better. I have to,
Right.
Instead you're like, oh no, I know exactly what I'm going to do to make myself feel better. And, having in that moment, like, I don't know, it's scary with COVID, or I miss my friends too. I've been worrying about them.
Right.
How about, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write down, I'm going to journal about it, or I'm going to write them a letter. Do you want to write your friends a letter because you're missing them and you're worried about them? And, you're giving them that outlet, and as well as taking care of yourself. It's that co-regulation.
Yes, all the skills that I wish I had known more about when my kids were younger.
I mean, that kind of reminds me of, you talking about co-regulation and whatnot. So how can parents tell when our behavior might be influencing their behavior, or like our anxiety might be influencing their behavior? How can we tell?
Mm-hmm. I think some of it will be developmentally reactions to things. So you may have kids that, if we're anxious and scared all the time, they may also all of a sudden not be as adventurous maybe as they normally are, or they're more irritable, things like that. Some of it just depends. Now, and some of it, like your teenagers, they may just start talking about or more of things that they're worried about, or not taking those healthy risks. Like, okay, I'm not going to go out for drum major because I'm scared. I don't want a rejection. It could be a lot of, and it can look different totally for every kid. It's, the big thing is noticing it, those subtle shifts, I think a big one. Or you notice your kids like start talking about their tummies hurting more.
Mm-hmm.
Or, every time they have to go do something that maybe you're a little nervous about, but they're nervous too. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't, so there's little shifts, and a lot of it, especially the younger kids, can come across as like somatic complaints. So like things like my stomach hurts, or I don't feel good, I feel sick, my head hurts, a lot of that, like somatic complaints and avoidance.
So how can we as parents recognize when anxiety is moved from those everyday worries into, okay, we might need some.
Well, I think part of it is being really honest and knowing yourself and what is kind of the norm. What is my normal worry level, and am I constantly on edge? And I'm feeling a little out of control, or I feel paralyzed. We don't have to be in crisis to start, reach out to get help and start getting professional help. Like, it could be just like, I am anxious all the time and I don't want to be like that. Let me just, not that we are at 100 max capacity. And so everyone can benefit from that. And parents too, I think it's so important for them to recognize their own mental health, and get started, because also it normalizes and shows if their kids ever need it. But it some of that is that preemptive, because I mean you're not only just dealing with yourself, you're dealing with your whole family. That is just it's so much. And so parents having access to good mental health support is so huge before we get to that.
Yeah, before
emergency.
Almost like managing, giving yourself the tools that you need before the fires actually happen. That way you can kind of maintain, throughout whatever's going on, because we don't know everything that's going to happen in our lives. So that makes sense. It's just kind of put some tools back there.
And some people experience things like burnout. Like, if you think about burnout with work, if we are constantly worrying about work, we're feeling like we are at max capacity. That affects your performance at work. It makes you not enjoy work. And that has very real consequences, but you're never off the clock with parenting.
No.
And so if you're burnt out parenting and you're not enjoying your life, and it feels like doing things is a burden, or like planning a trip is just like the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
That's a big sign, because you can't afford to be burnout and be a parent. I mean, I know there are going to be points that are reality, but like
true,
that high level of burnout where you don't enjoy any aspect of
the things you used to enjoy.
Yeah.
I've experienced that, especially around the holidays. Cooking. I love cooking meals for my family. It was something my grandmother did for me, and it was the way that she loved us, and I find myself doing the same thing. But I was like, F this. Like, so-and-so doesn't eat pork, and such doesn't like green beans, and so-and-so doesn't eat this. So I'm going to have to accommodate F this. I'm not. I'm just, this is not fun.
Yeah.
And that was out of the norm for me. But I have a friend system. I mean, I have like a support network of friends, and I was like, anybody else feeling this way? Because I am not digging cooking Thanksgiving dinner. Like, this is not, and that just being able to vent to other moms without judgment and makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah. That the role of community in our lives cannot be like highlighted enough. And feeling not alone in all of that, it really is so validating, and it can help us nourish and pour back into our cups. Like when we're able to like not even share some of those burdens, but just have somebody listen, receive us, and also give back to us. Like, yeah, no, like I'm your feelings are valid. I'm experiencing some similar things. It's not like y'all are solving one another's, like problems or worries or concerns, but it's being heard and your emotional state being held in a place that's loving and supportive and empathetic. And that is so huge.
So how can she talked about seeking professional help and how to know, like, what are some of the signs to know when you may want to go beyond and seek professional help. How can we normalize that? Because a lot of people don't want to, take that next step. I think I can tell you for myself personally, it was because then I have to admit. And once I admit that I probably need professional help, then I have to do something about it. So I'm sure people avoid doing that for all kinds of reasons or hesitate to do it.
Yeah.
How can we get better at normalizing it?
I think one, obviously conversations like this and listening and hearing and talking about parental mental health in general is a part of that, and reassuring parents they're not alone in that. There's nothing wrong with them, and it is not a failure as a parent to get professional help, but also checking in with our friends as well, saying, hey, I've seen you have been really like at max capacity, like at what's going on, how, what kind of help do we think that we need? Maybe it's time, and and normalizing that, and then reciprocate that too, and it's like reassure one another and check in, because if one person does it and it's well received, in your life, that helps encourage everybody else, and it's not a bad thing. And so just having that conversation, not having it be shameful, or like I said, like that this is a deficit in me as a parent.
Yeah, because that's real.
Yeah. And if my friend is going and getting therapy and they're doing well, like I don't think that they're less of a parent for doing that. So maybe me doing that isn't so bad.
Right. And I know for me personally, it wasn't ever so much about the judgment. Like, I'm afraid you're going to think I'm a bad parent. It's that I'm going to feel like a bad parent, and the shame of that and the guilt of that. I just couldn't carry that on top of everything else.
No, it is hard. Like our inner dialogue, we are so hypercritical, the majority of us of ourselves. But it's also, you have to ask yourself, like, do I want to keep feeling this way? Yeah. Because like, at what point, like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks, and doing it the way that I have been doing it, nothing's changing right now. I'm not feeling any better.
How's that working for you?
Yeah. And just pushing past that and be like, okay, maybe what's the worst thing that happens if I make that appointment? Okay, I don't like it. I don't have to go back. Nobody's, holding me hostage, making me do this. At least I tried and I did something different. But what if? Crazy thought.
Sure.
What if it feels amazing and I learn things and I start to feel unburdened and happier, or more well connected, or just a little calmer?
So I'm going to ask you to show us the stuff that you brought. You brought stuff.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things, I brought this on
a previous episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the polyvagal workbook for trauma. But this is so much great, powerful tools for regulating our nervous system and things like that. And
is this a book that, like, I could go and buy on Amazon knowing that I have childhood trauma and I could work through it?
Yes.
So this isn't like
this is not for professionals to, and I as a professional, I use it with my client. But it is a guided workbook, and talking through trauma, and anybody can pick this up and, use it and it be like an appropriate tool. But I love it because there's this whole section in here about breathing and your emotions. Our breath is so important, and we don't really always take the time to think about that. But we have to have oxygen to live, right? It helps our brain focus. And a lot of times, if you think about it, one of the hallmark things with like anxiety attacks, things like that, is like rapid breathing, that feeling I can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we are more tapped into our breath and do our breath work, we are fully engaging in that and trying to come back to a better breathing place, a more secure, more stable, and that helps us feel more regulated. We're getting more oxygen to our brain. We're feeling safer. We're not in that fight or flight. We're trying to get, adrenaline down, things like that. And so taking those calming breath for sometimes it may feel silly or like it doesn't work. But I mean, if you really logically think about it, more oxygen is more efficient. All of our systems are more efficient. And so taking that time to slow down, part of that is because when I slow my breath down, I'm slowing my heart down, which may be beating rapidly when I'm really anxious about something, or that shaking feeling. Like I'm physically bringing myself down, which is I'm going to mirror that in my nervous system and come back down. And so this has just got a whole thing about that connection, and I just love it.
Y'all can't see it. It is Post-it noted up.
Yes.
There is some highlighting going on in there.
I really do use this all the time. I just love one of the questions is that I thought was so poignant was, do you tend to hold your breath? Do you notice if you breathe shallowly? Do you feel as though you can take a deep, full breath? Because, if you think about it, if you are in this anxious place, you can't.
Yeah.
And just sitting there and like, it is hard for me to actually take a deep breath. It's really thought provoking. And so I wanted to
never thought of that before.
Yeah, it's some of that somatic work. It's that brain body connection. And so I brought this activity, which I love. It's from Dr. Kathy Malchiati, who is like this incredible figure of trauma-focused expressive arts therapy. And so it's, finding different ways to engage in healing through, the process of, she talks about circle of capacity. So instead of just like a window of tolerance, which is important, it's our ability to deal with hard moments, which is important. She also talks about expanding our capacity. And so our capacity for joy, our capacity for healing, for engaging in life. And so thinking about our breath, she has this really cool handout because I'm doing training to become a trauma-focused expressive arts therapist. But it is, what does your sigh look like? And, this feels like you got to be an artist. But if you think about it and you have to sit there and just use lines or color or something, what does your sigh today look like? What does your breath look like? And that can tell you a lot where you're at emotionally too, especially if you've been sort of numb or so anxious. I don't really know. And so it's kind of cool to sit there, and if I have to visualize what it looks like, what does it look like? Brought that for us to kind of think about.
I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't have the opportunity to do mine.
Yeah, I scribbled on mine. I just
But I love the example that you gave us, that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a negative emotion.
No.
Like frustration or anxiety or
that
it
you talked
can be
about
joy.
relief or joy, like
yeah, like I'm so excited. Like like I might draw my breath like on here going up, like, oh, this is like, I feel so light, I feel excited for the day. It could be like I'm drawing it as waves, like I feel good. It might be that earlier in the day I felt a little more shaky, but overall I'm this like even pattern. It's because our breath can't be positive. It doesn't all have to be negative. And it, even points in our day, it might look different. But it's really working on that immediacy, like being in the moment, checking in with actually where I'm at, and doing that using different parts of our brain. So just like talking about things uses a particular part, drawing, even like scribbling, that's using a different part of your brain. It's like with journaling, that's different than just strictly talking out loud. If you get an MRI and look at some of the neuroscience things, you're going to see different parts of the brain light up because you're activating different parts, and that helps us, to really fully understand ourselves and help more master control over our emotions. That way, they're not controlling us, to this extent where we feel sort of out of control and we're not able to regulate.
Okay, so as we wrap up, Vinay, if a parent takes just one thing away from today's episode, what do you hope that is?
I would say pause, like the power of pause. I really like that, kind of, is it an emergency or no?
I like the worry time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I'm like, that's probably what that would be. Like, just stop for a second, and kind of regain yourself and then breathe. I really like the box method breathing where it's like 4, hold it for 4, breathe for 4 in, exhale.
That's one of my favorite go-tos.
Okay, tell our listeners what it is.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I don't know.
So it is just like Vinay said. So it's like, and I actually do myself when I'm feeling like I need to take a second and ground myself. I'll do it like on my leg. And so you're breathing in through your nose for 4. And so like I'll go up on my box, and then you hold your breath for 4. That's where you're going across. And then you breathe out through your mouth for 4. And then you hold again when you're going across the bottom of your box. And you repeat that as many times as you need, because it's helping you become more aware of your body, slowing your breathing down, being really intentional with that pacing and things like that. And so it's love it.
Look at you giving everybody a coping skill.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
I have to use it myself. So let me just share it, can't keep that one, y'all.
No.
I love that. What about you, Lauren? What is one, if parents take away just one thing today, what do you hope that is?
Just one. You're not alone in worrying, and it's totally, it is valid. You're not crazy. But you also can be in control of the worry. And so, it may not feel like it, but you are, and you can be, and it's okay to reach out and ask, seek some professional help, seek, your community, your support system. It's truly a sign of, healthy parenting, is like being like, okay, I'm not okay right now. What can I do to, feel a little better?
Yeah. I think mine would be just remember nobody's got this figured out.
No.
That's what we love to say here on Unrattled. That's why we're here. And this can be your own little form of community. Lean into those of us who share anxiety with you. You are definitely not alone, like Lauren said. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you being here with us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
It's nice to see you. Just stay engaged with your kids. Don't give up. Just keep working at it. And, it gets a little easier, especially with community and especially with time and being intentional about the things that you do. So you're listening to a parenting podcast. That's a start.
Absolutely.
So don't forget to subscribe, follow the show, and we'll see you next time on Unrattled.
Bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Gulf Regional Early Childhood Services or its partners. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding parenting, education, or your child's development. See you next time.